That should do it. So we'll go ahead and get started. First things first, pour a little sip of something tonight. Polish off some Old Forester. Not a huge fan. This Old Forester. Reason why it's been sitting around for so long. However, I did make a delicious smoked bourbon to butter ice cream this summer with it. So, that was nice. So, what you do is you take and you melt butter and then you pour the bourbon in it and you just let it sit out for a while. And then you strain out the bourbon, and then you're left with butter that tastes like bourbon and bourbon that tastes like butter. And then made the ice cream, pump smoke in the ice cream while you're making it. Now you got smoked buttered bourbon. Oh, and pecan, candied pecan. But you're not here for that. We're here for Cull and Good Bull for Bonfire 2024 Family Cut. Was this last weekend? It was a big one. Kept me on my feet. Did a fair bit of walking. So we'll get started at the beginning of the day. Yellow pots, they have not yet been called to the woods in this year, but they are headed to. They're getting a jump start on getting called into the woods. Yellow pots and butt pots. As we talked about last week, the sunlight. The sunrise early morning out here in these woods is great. I'm definitely gonna miss the light. It's just perfect. Trees across the street filtered out pretty good. There's that tree we talked about last week that has been such a reliable standby to get Aggies walking in front of that tree from out in the field. But as happens with a lot of these trees, this tree is lost trees around it. That kind of changes what the trees are used to, and then that's where you see, especially these post oaks, that's where they a little bit different, so they just give up. If a tree falls into a post oak and tears off a couple branches, then the post oak gives up. That's just what they do. But for 3 years, a cut at this place, that tree was a nice backdrop. Everybody's heading to load site for cut class, so there's always another cut class. Family cut. So you got your cut classes before the season starts. You got cut class for first cut for anybody that's when you're going to get a lot of people show up that's when you get most of your newcomers that need a cut class after the season starts, and then you'll do a cut class for the parents. Trying to get a good representation here of number of people. There's a heck of a lot of parents. And families, as we talked about, it's become a family affair. This line of people stretches all the way to the front gate at this point. That's a heck of a lot of people. Get walking in. And so what they did for Family Cut, which I really appreciated, made my life so much better. They used the front woods. That's mostly where they had people. Was up in these front woods where walking people, watching people walk in front of. So that helped me a lot. Trying to keep up, and on Family Cut, I really do my level best to try and get around to everybody's woods. Want any families left out? There was one crew that I spent a good long time looking for. It was right up on lunchtime before I found them. They were all the way back at the end here and around the side. So the last time we were in these woods, well, I think this year too, if you drive into the front gate and you keep going straight and all the cars parking on the road here, that where people used to park, that's where they put them. Of course, now people are parking out in the field. Our Aston crew. Couple seniors, they caught me by surprise. Jumped right into it. You know, after the line there, most importantly, a fighting Texas Aggie senior red pot. You work down your way down the trailer, doing introductions. Could use a wider lens. That's on my wish list. Nice wider lens. One of these days. I'm not much of a gearhead with photography stuff. Try to hang with people when they ask me what I shoot with or what have you. But I really don't know too much about, not too into the gear. If it works, it works. That said, use Nikon 28-300. And after using a bunch of lenses over the years, I just love that 28-300. That's the lens. The camera's a D750, which is just it's just a friggin' workhorse. Put this camera through hell. And we're getting close to 300,000 exposures on that shutter, so I'm actually kind of cutting it close on needing to send it in for maintenance and whatnot. All the grips are falling off. Here we go. all the Browns making their entertaining introductions. But yeah, if anybody ever asks, what should I shoot with, I'm in the camp of whatever you can afford to use, not whatever you can afford, because that's a different thing. Whatever you can afford to use. So get you something that get you something good, but don't get you something so good that you're afraid to use it, or afraid to use it in the places that are worth a damn. The D750, I think I've had it now for 7, 8 years, and at the time I got it, not uh, not terribly cheap, worth it, and it was something that I could afford to use. Beat up a little bit. But I find that part of I think I'm able to do different stuff recently, the last few years, and I actually feel like it's because the camera is so beat up at this point. So I don't mind getting in the dirt, crawling into something, sitting out in the rain, whatever it is. It's already beat up. So now we're into the green pot introductions. I realized last week for the Modi, I was looking for a picture of them doing their wildcat after they introduced themselves, because I swore I had a picture of that. Turned out that I didn't. So now I do. Then the last you see there's your load pot. So he's beginning to introduce himself, and of course, there's Walton waiting for it, and then he says, "And I am load pot." There, the crowd goes wild. So now they're getting ready to do the demonstration of calling a tree, setting a wedge, cutting a tree. Now I want to say something for the record here, in case anybody jumps on or rewatches this in the morning, um, and wasn't sure. There were a couple photographers out, family cut. I would be the photographer that after he said, "This is my fall path, get out of my fall path," I'm the photographer that got out of the fall path. Even though I know it's a toy tree, it's not anywhere near me. I'm trying to set a good example for everybody during cut class and stay out of the fall path and respect the rules. So if we didn't get to meet at Family Cut, I was the guy that was obeying the rules. Doing a demo of calling a log. For the first couple years that we were doing this, the early off campus years, calling logs was it was a bit chaotic. I mean, there were your standbys and standards, but it was still a little bit chaos. It was my grandsons and great grandsons who did good work, bringing a little bit more order and standardization across Bonfire and how Bonfire would call a log. Did a good job teaching it up, setting expectations, and a lot of what they set. A lot of what they set in those early years is exactly what they're doing now. It's like a lot of things. The traditions that you should do, well, those tend to last. It's good to see. I believe we talked about it before when we first started stacking 2003. We started with 36-foot logs. There's the junior watching everybody walk into the woods. Most everybody is up here in the front. I think there were 8 crews up in the front. The core was back towards where they had been for most of the year. Lechner and a Pelt were up by the road coming into sight. Most everybody else was up here at the front. And there's a lot of trees up here in the front. In fact, so many up in the front that after the Reds figured out that we would be able to cut the front on this property, there was the possibility, there was a bit of a contingency plan to possibly have a second cut site this year. Found out that we would have access to the front of this cut site. Everybody did the math, and we only had to use one cut site this year, so that's good. So this is Leggett's Woods. Right behind Leggett was Schumacher. I think I did stop by Schumacher. Or not Schumacher. I apologize. FHK. There's a Bonfire Legacy family. Last year, there was a photo that I still like very much from the end of Family Cut last year. The Russies are 4 generations of Bonfire. Yeah, there we go. 35, 62, 01, 26. Isn't that right? 27. So that's good to see. That's great. Downswinging there in OC Woods. It's early to be downswinging, but we mentioned there's a lot of trees that are already down that were brought down Bonfire doesn't use anything that isn't cut down while it's living, used that year. But for downswinging that early in the morning, I believe that was a tree from last week. It didn't occur to me at the time that it's too early in the morning to have just killed a tree, but I believe that's what was going on. So now we're in Neely Woods. Neely always manages to have good light. This is a motivated Aggie's grandfather. So we talked about it before. We've talked about before how over the years there's been different practices where in my time, when you're cutting down a tree and it starts to go, then you keep swinging on it all the way until it stops falling down. Ideally, it stops falling when it hits the ground. But sometimes it gets stuck on the stump. Either way, when it stops falling down, then you stop swinging on it and you keep swinging on it throughout. And that does help it break off and increase the probability that it won't get stuck on the stump. However, there was a few dark years there where the rule was once it starts to fall, then back away and stop swinging. So on most things, I'm just going to sit there and observe, and if that's the way we're doing things now, that's fine. But I'll tell you, when we went back to everybody swinging all the way through until the tree is down, when we went back to that again, that very happy about that personally. What they're doing there, they had. I came into the woods just as this was starting. They had a big cedar tree. There's a lot of big cedars on this property, and it's going very well for the property and for the landowner that they're getting rid of all these cedars. There's a big one that part of the thing about cedars, they got all those branches and they start low to the ground, and they can get made up pretty good with the ivy tied in with other trees, so they're very likely to get hung. So what they were doing there was they were taking a big cedar that was hung in at least one oak tree, and they were tugging on it, pull the bottom out from under it, and get it to finally come down. That was Heartwoods. Now is Schumacher Woods. Again, early in the morning when you're most likely to see down swinging. Putting the dads to work, dragging brush. I have to say, I was really impressed with the parents this weekend. They went all day. Very encouraging to see. Love to see it. A little bit of cheating here, making the truck sticks with the chainsaw. Usually, here's how you do it when you're doing it the fun way. And this axe there is called Auto. That's the axe. And years ago, I had the privilege of having Auto. So Auto is passed down every year to one person in the dorm. And of course, Otto named for Thomas Otto Walton. In whose axe box that axe was found. I was a social chair of that dorm. We had a sort of an archive, a museum sort of situation going on, and it wasn't actually an axe box. It was a trunk, footlocker type things. It was in it. So the you've ever seen one of the Perimeter Fires podcasts, when I do them from the desk behind me, there's an axe handle. That was the head stack axe handle in 2003 and 2004. That axe handle actually came off of that axe. That axe handle broke on the last day of cut in 2002, and I felt terrible about it. But I convinced everybody pretty quickly that that's the way it was supposed to happen. And then somebody else would get the axe head, and I would keep the axe handle. And then the next person would keep their axe handle and pass down the axe head. And that's how it's carried on ever since. At this point, we are in Lechner Woods. Pretty good about a few of these. Going hard. Sometimes I almost wish, I mean, not really, but it would be nice if like there was a different family cut weekend for every crew. Because I do always regret having to move on to the next set of woods so quickly every time. But the cut day is only not even 8 hours. And there's a lot of crews. They're spread out a pretty fair bit. You know, like we said, it was nice that so many of them were up in the front. But then the ones that were in the back, well, they were pretty far away. And you want to try and get all phases of everybody, clear and brush in the morning, swinging on trees when you're good and fresh in the later morning, carrying logs after you've got a few trees down, getting towards the afternoon, lunch, then grinding away on some trees and carrying some trees in the afternoon when you're tired, and then doing whatever you can do to avoid killing a monster tree. End of the day, it's good and hot, and you want to get that angle on for all the crews. So it's just constantly moving all day, just hoping that I get everybody. Sincerest apologies if I didn't. If my oldest wasn't such a volleyball stud, she was going to be out, help me out a little bit. She's taken some photos in the past. She's got a knack for it. She's also got a knack for volleyball, so that didn't work out. It's just trying to keep up with everybody myself. This is Kruger Woods at the on that road, the road that you got to take to get into Cut Site. There's a cedar they're working on there. While they're working on a cedar which is falling this way, sort of behind them, there's a crocker pot. Look at there. Look at there. Oh, nuts. I could have told him I'm taking a guess, but I'm pretty sure he would know the Crocker mural. Be aware of the Crocker mural. I got a good Crocker mural story. I got a great Crocker mural story. Not sure I'm allowed to tell it in public yet, but it's a damn good one. Nothing illegal. They had a mural in the steam tunnels. It's not in the steam tunnels anymore because they tore down Crocker and Moore and McInnes. So they carved out those steam tunnels underneath. Of course, there's still steam tunnels around campus, but the steam tunnels that were underneath Crocker, Moore, and McInnes are gone. And so that mural is gone, but it's not really gone. Here's the father of one of our brown pots. Iceman, he was a chief in Pelt. Did I say a Pelt? I might have said Kruger earlier. It's a Pelt. This is a Pelt where we're at. Here, I'm taking a picture of the competition. But when he was a fish at Stack one time, I think it might have been last shift, they needed some high ports got from the front of the property and of Stack Site. There was a bunch of high ports towards the front of Stack Site, and they needed them all brought to Stack or Turbo Stack, I believe. And again, I'm not putting anybody in a position where they're going to have, taking somebody's head off on their conscience. I'm zoomed in here a little bit. Everybody's safe. But yeah, they were talking about getting a bunch of logs up to the stacks or to perimeter. Iceman Ty, he was always highly motivated. He was sitting there as a fish, helping everybody go to get these logs. And to my mind, you get towards the end of stack, you're on your last stack shift, and maybe it was the next to last. Um, you only got so many more opportunities to fit in all the motivation you can for the year, and everybody was just walking back and forth grabbing those logs. And I want to be perfectly clear that I was not in any kind of physical condition, but I thought if we can start running these logs back and forth, these high ports, if somebody can start doing that, then maybe everybody will start running logs back and forth. If some out of shape old man is running them back and forth, then maybe that'll raise the stakes a little bit. And so I grabbed Iceman. I said, come with me. And we started running them back and forth. And I think I only made it like 5 trips maybe. And then grabbed a core guy and said, hey, core and Andre, y'all are working together. I'm out. And then pretty soon everybody was running those high ports. Good time. I'm not in a position to yell at anybody anymore, nor do I even want to. So it was fun to just get in the mix with them. But anyway, that was his dad that we saw there. So they're back there that we were looking at. They're back over here off to the behind, working on a tree that's leaning away. They're working on this tree. You can see it's got the lean that's way. Back wedge it even if you wanted to. I was really trying to get Aggie Dad on his shirt, but all my timing was off. One of our old Browns heading to Core Woods. Non-reg, but Core, when he was a brown pot, the Core bestowed on him the AMUs. That happening. That was nice. And here's a familiar face, and I'm only landing on this because he was getting his picture taken and people sharing it, so I'll go ahead and do it. Is Colonel Brewer came out to visit. Got a lot of people motivated seeing Colonel Brewer out there, myself included. The Core Woods was thick. There was a lot of work being done in the Core Woods. And for reference here, we are now, I believe we are halfway through the photos. There we're calling a new fall path. Here. Talon 12. His boy is a butt pot for Squadron 16 now. Legacy, F2. Here. Now, you're talking about changing standards and expectations. The for the longest time now, when you're swinging, you can use a glove on your slide hand, but not on your base hand. But historically, either there wasn't any standard for that at all, or sometimes the standard was reversed, or you could wear gloves on both hands if you're swinging an axe. I mean, you wear gloves all you want these days when you're doing any other kind of work. But these days, when you're swinging, the instructions are bare hand on the base hand, and you can, if you want, wear a glove on the slide hand. But we saw there that old F2 doing it the opposite way. Ultimately, when you're old army and you're used to doing it however you're used to doing it, then do that. Nobody's going to say otherwise. Family cut. Here's a 98 E2 butt pot. Good to see him out. I know it was good for him to see his old outfit out there. And he's getting them all taught up on handling an axe. He actually brought out a box, a large box full of brand new axe handles. Kansas or something like that. I think it was Kansas. Maybe it was Missouri. Brand new axe handles, which is good because you get these big box Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever axe handles, and they're so hit or miss. So we might be looking at getting going forward. We might be looking forward to a standard supply of the same axe handles every year, which is going to be nice. I mean, it's good and reliable, high quality, American made. There's a tree that just came down, laying a little funny. They had to roll it a little bit, move it, and start down swinging on it. Current E2 butt pot, popping it. There's B2, E2 butt pot calling a wedge, calling a tree. C2. This was a big one. We talked last week about something we were taking pictures of. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge being closely connected to the situation to be taking pictures of it. So at a certain point, I stopped taking pictures of this and started paying more attention to the situation. But this is a damn big tree. Damn big tree. I never really quite realized or put into perspective how big these trees were until one time we were put into a situation where we had to move a car. We had to move a car and we couldn't find the owner of the car. We had got everybody together and told everybody to move their cars. And everybody moved their car but this one car, and we could not find the owner of that car, and it needed to be moved. So it was just upper leadership that was standing around the car in the moment. And pretty much everybody who was there seems to remember being the one to say it out loud. Somebody said it out loud. We certainly all thought it at the same time. What if we just carried the car? And we did it. Nobody could believe we were doing it. We did it. We got up underneath the car, and somebody got in front and called it and said, grab a bite. 1, 2, halfway up, 3, 4. Well, halfway up, we get to halfway up, and then we're looking at each other like, I can't believe we're doing this. So let's take it all the way up, 3, 4, all the way up. And so we picked up that car and we walked it out of the way. It wasn't super far, but it wasn't short either. Carried that car and then we put it down. That's something I'm not gonna forget. I don't imagine, but I certainly I remember in that moment realizing, holy mackerel, if we hadn't all carried that many trees that were as big as they are, thought never would have crossed our mind that, hey, maybe we could just pick up a car and move it. Then when we did, and it was easy, it was comparatively easy to pick up a car and move a car. When we did that and we realized how easy it felt, and here we're back in Heartwoods, realized, damn, these trees must be pretty damn big. I'm not by any stretch recommending picking up a car and moving it. Don't do that. It was a situation where we just had to. But that said, it was pretty damn cool. I'm lucky that I got to be there for that. Have that experience. A lot of times with old stories, the point of the story is not to repeat it, but just to tell you, hey, it's possible. It's been done. Don't do it. But this is what you're capable of. I know that this is what you're capable of because we did it. So we're back in Leggett Woods. And look at there. Look at that wedge. All the way down to the ground. At this point, I actually laid down. And that little oak trying to grow up there, that little oak sapling is throwing off my focus, but hopefully we got one. I'll go back through and make sure we got one out of those. So you want to be reasonable when you set your wedge heights. When you got something that's like this, that's small enough that taking the time to take it down isn't going to throw anybody's back out, well then, get as much out of the tree as you can. One of the brown pots working on topping something there. Oh, wait, he's not topping. He is taking the stump out so that they can get out of those woods with the log. So what happens going into every year when you're arranging a cut site? You don't just show up to a place and start cutting down trees. There's the red pots are going to spend the summer looking for a piece of land that needs cut, and then working with landowners. And so that you're going to end up working with a number of landowners before you find a piece of land that you're going to want to use. But part of that process of getting the piece of land is having the conversations with the landowners. And here, this is, I told you I was looking all day for a crew. It was actually Kruger and Aston. They were the ones that were way back up at the front. I thought I hit everybody, then went to the core woods and was looking for Kruger near where they were because I hadn't seen them yet and they weren't there. And I ended up having to walk clear across the map back to Kruger and Aston. Yeah, so you got your red pots will go out and they'll talk to a bunch of people who are interested in having their land cleared. And then when they talk to them, they'll go over expectations, and some landowners, they want the stumps left. Leave the stump, stick it like here you go, get stump, stump, stump. Some landowners would like the stumps to stick up, not be cut flush with the ground. So if a landowner's got a bulldozer or something of that nature, they like to have the stump sticking up out of the ground because it's easier to tie a chain on them and rip the stumps out. And then some landowners would prefer to have everybody go through not everybody, have the brown pots go through the woods at the end of the season and cut all the stumps flush with the ground. So, in this case, the landowners like the stump sticking out. However, if a stump is going to be in the way of getting a log out, then you do have to cut it flush to the ground. Here's another one of those cedars doing what cedars do. They're ridiculous branches, all caught up and everything. And so I think this was about as far as this tree got initially, and then they eventually swung it off the stump. And they had to get a rope and tow strap and first pull it off to the side to get it out from front of the stump that it came off of. There, now it's clear of the stump that it came off of. And then they just reoriented and then pulled it back, and then the tree came up out of the canopy, got unhung. I got busted. Candid photo became not candid. That's one way to get a low wedge. Here we go. There's my favorite trick. Taking a picture of somebody taking a picture of somebody. Back at Neely Woods. Again, busted. OC Woods again. Bringing another tree out. And while I was there, they got everybody together, did a red ass OC family cut portrait. Big crew in OC for that weekend. There's Joel, one of our board members. Joel gets after it. I did a perimeter fires episode with Joel. I believe that one was a two-parter. That was a great conversation. I think that one ran close to 3 hours, and then we split it into 2-hour episodes or so. That was a great conversation. And then that was before Joel was on the board. He's got a great mind for Bonfire. Got a great love for Bonfire too. So it's good that these Aggies have Joel and now, and of course, you got the rest of the board of directors. It's there for a long time, helping curate and perpetuate the nonprofit the Bonfire cuts under. And then the board will advise Bonfire as an institution and the individual leaders. So the board is there to support them and facilitate their work. But ultimately, it's important that this is still Bonfire the way it should be, by and for the students. So yeah, there's a board and there's the nonprofit, but ultimately it's the students that are still running the deal. So this is a sort of a reunion of sorts at Load Site. I-1 dropped by. They got to meet one of their old I-1, who is the parent of a Walton non-reg. They got to hear some old I-1 stories. This is a good story. Clearly. Got back in on Lechner Woods. That's a good one. I remember that one. I believe they're getting ready to start working on this tree. If I'm remembering, stuff out of the way. Is that right? Or is this still back in the back? This might still be back in the back. Back of their woods. While I was there, they did start on another tree. Getting towards the end of the cut day here. Lots of Bonfire Legacy out this family cut, which was great to see. There's the tree they were starting on. Nah, that's not the same tree. This is the one that they started on while I was there. Thanking the tree for his service. And one of the juniors dropped by and helped out a little bit. More truck stick action. I tell you what, the nice thing when rain finally decides to come again, this dust, it's just the worst. The worst. It's wearing through chains. Stopped in on FHK one more time. It's wearing through chains. It hurts the eyes. It sucks. People coughing up a lung at load site. Looking forward to that rain coming back. But our luck, it's probably not going to come back until cut's over and stack has started. I don't know if I captured it with this one, but this tree had me a little nervous. Another one of the things I had to stop shooting just to watch. There was a period there where I just put the camera down and was sitting there watching. This tree about 15 feet up out of frame here, it jogged back like the tree took a 90-degree turn backwards and then went straight back up again. All the limbs were going out this way, but it had that weird. I had to pay attention to that one more closely than just taking pictures of it. And made it back to the core just in time to watch them. There it is. That big old tree off the stump. And right after that, everybody started to head home. So you saw, folks, we saw an Aggie mom carrying out a cookie. There's the dad carrying out his cookie. Now folks are heading back up so they're coming out of the woods, but also heading up to load site. Be dismissed. There's the Aggie band continuing on, singing their song. So they had a quick little yell practice. Be dismissed. 8 hours after they started, everybody headed back home. There we have it. So that was Another family cut in the books. This is a big one. This is a damn big one. Damn good to see. Appreciate all the Aggie families being out there. Like I said, the families went hard. They worked all damn day. It was a great day. Great day for Bonfire. Great day for Aggies. Now that makes, is that 8 cuts now? 8 cuts in the books. Um, getting well on to the end of the cut season here. A lot of trees down this year. It's going to be a beautiful stack. Straight trees. Just the kind of stuff you want for stack. There'll be, I think there's 4 more cuts. They had a red ass midweek cut this week on Tuesday. I was not there for that. I was at home with the family. They squeezed another cut in, which is good. It's good to get that practice doing a cut. Even if you don't need the extra cut day, it's good to make sure that nobody falls out of practice on the 1 year you're going to need to do a midweek cut. And so it's good to go ahead and practice that even in years where you don't need a midweek cut. But they did that. There'll be, like I say, I think 4 more cuts, 3 more cuts after this. I just go where I'm told, when I'm told. But then we'll be getting into center pole unload and raising center pole and stack. So things are progressing well. It's an outstanding season. It's been a huge season. Like we talked about, this season's just breaking records all over for the number of people who are participating. I'm heartened and motivated by the fact that Aggies, the hell with TU, who cares? Aggies are out building Bonfire because it's something they love to do. And I'm sure that TU will factor into the crowd that shows up to burn on burn night. But for right now, what matters is, Bonfire is what it's supposed to be. This is about who we are, not who we ain't. And seeing that in the woods every week. So, real proud of this season. Really enjoyed Family Cut. Enjoyed getting to see people I hadn't seen in a while and meet folks and watch Bonfire Legacies. And it's a great weekend. So, stay tuned. These photos will come out. The ones we selected will come out tomorrow, maybe Friday. And then we'll have another cut weekend. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is another double cut coming up. So, more to come. Stay tuned. Follow the season in photos at Dion C Gallery on Instagram, at Dion C Gallery on YouTube for these live streams. Then follow Bonfire at Student Bonfire on Instagram, at Bonfire on Facebook, and bonfire.ag for all your Bonfire updates and info, especially about burn night. And then dion-c.me is the website to see all the photos from this and every season since 2010 is when we started taking these photos. So there you go. And then also stay tuned. At some point here, we're going to figure out when Ace's last visit to the woods is going to be. We haven't seen him in a couple weeks. Hurt his hip a few weeks ago, and he's just getting a little bit too old for this racket. So he'll come out one more time, and I'll give everybody a good heads up so that they can see Ace one more time, his last time in the woods. But yeah, lots to stay tuned for. Lots going on with Bonfire. Build the hell Aggies. Gig 'em.